Well, I wanted to get on the record here. Not you, Sam. Okay. Good morning. Okay, now we've got everybody. We were going to put some stuff on. Okay, folks, we're going on the record. I asked everybody to be here at 10 till so we could put some stuff on the record. Mr. Zion had made a request for the record. Everybody is now present in the courtroom. Mr. Zion, you wanted to put some things on the record?
Just a 404B request, Your Honor, as the court is very well aware. If a party intends to use 404B material, notice must be given in advance of trial. It can be given during trial for good cause shown. The good cause that we are showing is that we didn't know until really yesterday, or Monday during opening, that the defense was going to open the door to all the other, with their exhibit. The court actually inquired about that exhibit, showing all the other patients, ones that were not indicted and ones that were indicted but then dismissed by the state last or 2 months ago. So at this point, we believe there is good cause to make this request at this time. They're the ones bringing it up. So we believe that material, as it relates to all of the patients that Dr. Husel was implicated in overdosing, should be admissible at this point to show intent, knowledge, and absence of mistake. Thank you.
Judge, I think the response to that is quite clear. The only thing that's been used in terms of the other cases are the dose amounts. I think the dose amounts are certainly relevant to pattern and intent. So if that's what counsel was asking for, we would have no objections to that issue.
Okay.
However, if you plan on making this trial another 6 weeks, well then, yeah, we certainly have an issue with that, and I can address it further if needed.
Okay. On your face, it appears they're not objecting. We may have to address it again, evidently. Okay.
All right.
Developments that you guys need to know about. I met with PFM, the providers, and Susan this morning at 7:30 about the courtroom and logistics. Tonight, they're going to take out the plexiglass between the jurors. They went out?
Like not this one, but all of it.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Good morning. I see her in the back hallway. So I figured I'd stand up.
What is that little circle thing with the screen on it, huh?
That is a microphone.
Oh, cool.
They were having carryover issues, so we moved a microphone there.
All right.
When you walk out, be careful. You shouldn't walk near it, but
Yep.
just in case.
Understood, thanks.
It's similar to what I have up here in other courtrooms. It's a controlling unit that directs it, so they have the ability to channel that into a particular spot. Yeah.
Oh, the box? Oh, they're probably not the same size. I was wondering if they could switch the front one for that side one, because there's at least.
They're not the same size. We talked about that this morning. They would have to cut 2 new tiles to do it.
Hey, do you have the?
And they don't have a key for us.
All right.
Seated. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Hope you had a wonderful evening. Okay, we're going to continue on with the testimony. Sir, remember, you're still under oath. Mr. Zion?
Thank you, Your Honor. If you could have the screen, please. Good morning, Mr. Talon, Mr. Schroyer, Mr. Talon Schroyer. I've mispronounced your name all along here. I
It's not
apologize.
doing any good until that gets all the way down because it's too noisy. Okay.
All right. We left off yesterday on redirect talking about what Ms. Menashe termed the diversion call. But how many, was that one, was that the only reason you made that call?
No.
Okay. And what was the other reason, just to get us back where we were?
That the best I could figure, that diversion was a possibility, or the possibility was the case could be made that these were hastening the deaths of people. And
They were what?
the case could be made that these doses were hastening the deaths of people. And either way, it wasn't good.
Okay. October 24th, was it your testimony on direct and cross that that's when you found out these were about palliative extubations?
Correct.
All right. I want to show you, we showed you some records here yesterday regarding Janet Kavanaugh. 29B and 29BB. Showing you 29A. Okay, zoom. There we go. And then we'll zoom out a little. This is the
Okay.
document that's,
Why don't you bring it out a little bit more?
okay,
No, out.
in,
In. Okay.
okay,
I'm old age.
there.
How are you guys seeing there?
I'm not touching it.
Any more? That's good? Y'all sure? Asked you yesterday, and I heard people weren't able to see it, so tell me if you got a problem, okay? Okay.
Okay. This is 29B. What is this document called at the top?
Medication orders.
Okay. 29BB, also relating to Janet Kavanaugh from the same date and time. And what is this document called?
Medication administration record.
Based on your training and experience at Mount Carmel, can you explain what the difference between medication orders document is and medication administration record is? Shortened, is that shortened for MAR?
Yes.
Okay.
Beyond the scope, Your Honor.
No, I disagree. I'm a permit.
That means you can answer.
The order is well, it wasn't, it's electronic, but it's what you see when you are verifying the order that comes across for what's supposed to happen. The administration record is in a different place, and as you can see, it's all more than one thing there. It's just kind of a place you can look to see what happened and when it happened.
All right. So is it fair to say then that the medication order, 29B, is what you saw? Remember, this was the one you called about, right, Janet Kavanaugh?
Right,
This is 29B is what you saw?
right.
Objection, Your Honor, is deleting. Still redirect.
I agree.
Move this type.
I'll rephrase, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, disregard the question. New question, please.
Is 29B what you saw prospectively?
Yes.
Okay. So on 29B, do you see anywhere that this is for palliative withdrawal?
I do not know.
Okay. And so when Ms. Menashe showed you 29, what I've identified as 29BB, the medication administration record, is this the after action, so to speak?
Yeah,
Okay. And is that where it's listed to be given for palliative extubation?
appears to be yes.
All right. And did you review 29BB when you had called him at that point?
No.
Are you familiar with the nurse's habit of what's called back charting?
I've heard of it before, yes.
What is back charting?
In my understanding, it is when you might be, a nurse may be busy doing something right now.
As to what a nurse does?
This is understanding, Your Honor.
Okay, overruled. Now, you said back?
BACK, back
Back. Okay.
charting.
Also, for the record, back charting was never discussed in cross, so I think it's beyond the scope.
It is, Your Honor, and I will address that shortly here. The issue of back charting was addressed in cross, and that's why I just laying a foundation for the next question.
Okay. I'll permit it.
Thank you. Tell them what your understanding of back charting is.
It is shortly that you may not chart or document what you did actually when you did it. You may do something and then, because you're doing other things, go back at a later time and document what you did.
So, relevant to what Ms. Menashe was asking you yesterday regarding Janet Kavanaugh, when she showed you 29 BB, the medication administration record, a document you did not review prospectively, she noted with you on cross about the time, 8:27, right?
Correct.
Do you remember her asking you, so it looks like they had this medicine for 3 hours, right?
Yes, I remember that.
Okay. Showing you what I've marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit for Janet Kavanaugh, 29, since I'm trying to keep them all in order, judges. 29B is Janet Kavanaugh, so 29B, B, B. Are you familiar with the progress notes and notes that indicate time of death?
Yes,
All right. And this is for Janet Kavanaugh,
yes,
and this is for the same hospital admission.
yes.
What is listed as the time of death for Janet Kavanaugh? Am I showing you the right thing?
Time of death, 06:03.
All right. So what time, that's on the 24-hour clock?
6 in the morning, 6:03 in the morning.
All right. So when Tyler Rudman in 29BB notes 8:27, the progress note from Dr. Husel indicates she actually died at 6:03 a.m.
Yes.
So in your mind, could this be an instance of back charting, Tyler Rudman going back and after the fact, writing in what he wrote?
Could be,
Okay.
yes.
Well, no.
Right.
We can make a side record on it real quick.
If you're objecting, Judge, I'll move on.
I'm not objecting, I'm just saying, no, you can't do it.
And I would move to
I don't
strike
object, I'm not a party.
and any answer.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
As to his opinion, no.
okay. Is that what the records indicate, that the Janet Kavanaugh died at
No,
6:03?
it's still as to his opinion.
No,
Okay,
that
that
was-
question isn't asking for an opinion.
You're aware, let me summarize and I'll move on, Judge. You're aware of back charting?
Yes.
You're aware that Ms. Menashe asked you about these medications being delivered 3.5 hours after they were pulled?
Yes.
And you're aware 29BBB indicates she died at 6:03 a.m.?
Yes.
Thank you. We good? Remember Ms. Menashe asking you the line of questioning about, well, you only worked at night, so you only worked with Dr. Husel, right? Remember that line of questioning?
Yes, I do.
All right, so directing your attention to that line of questioning by Ms. Menashe. You also worked with another nighttime ICU doctor, didn't you?
I did.
And what was his name?
Dr. Hagris?
Are you aware of Dr. Hagris's and Dr. Husel's schedules as far as, how much time they work part of each week?
Vaguely.
What's your vague notion of when they worked?
I know that when I worked Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I was working with Dr. Husel, and on Wednesdays, I worked with Dr. Hagris.
Okay. Were you aware that they actually split?
Objection leading.
Sustained?
Were you aware of,
Objection. He just said when the shifts were, Your Honor. It's leading, otherwise
Okay,
Your Honor.
I understand. I have sustained the objection, let's rephrase.
all right, thank you. So, in your experience, going back to what Ms. Menashe said, you not having any experience with other doctors, did you, in your experience, in your memory, did Dr. Hagris ever order fentanyl or the equivalent of morphine or any other pain medication in the doses that Dr. Husel ordered?
Objection, Your Honor. This has been asked and answered at nauseam on direct. Did any other doctor order that amount? We're now
Okay.
just retracting.
As to the commentary of nauseam, let's not go there, but for the rest of it, I agree, this has been asked and answered.
She asked specifically if he had experience with any other doctor, and that's what, and that's what I'm going on here, Judge. That's the line here.
Okay, so you're correcting some misstatement, is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm addressing her line of questioning that he only had experience with Husel, so how can he say no other doctor did this?
Then ask it.
That's what I was trying, did Dr. Hagris ever do this?
Can you answer that?
Not in my experience, no.
And along those same lines, you had no other experience than Dr. Husel. Was it, how many weeks were you working, training at the hospital during the day shift?
Several. I had 8, 10, something like that.
And who would those doctors have been?
Not Dr. Husel.
Okay. And in your experience and in your memory, did any of those doctors ever order fentanyl or the equivalent of other opioid pain medications in the doses that Dr. Husel ordered?
Not in my experience.
Back to the line regarding where was pharmacy. Do you recall Ms. Menashe asking you about Lipiodol and that one surgeon that used it and Randy not being around?
I do.
Did you design the system where the people you can arc your concerns up to were, I think in her words, MIA during your shift?
No, I did not.
To the line of questioning, do you remember her asking about Dr. Husel not being the one that were calling in these overrides?
Yes,
But Dr. Husel did call about overrides for ketamine, right?
correct.
Do you remember the line of questioning about overrides somehow being implied that they were nefarious, I think was the word Ms. Menashe used?
Yes,
She went through the medical Pyxis chart for Brandy McDonald. Do you recall that?
yes,
24E. And recall her pointing out that there was overrides for sodium bicarb, propofol, hydromorphine, sodium chloride. Do you
Yep.
recall all of that?
yes,
All the way through, correct?
correct.
If those are all taken on override, are you reviewing any of that stuff Ms. Menashe pointed out prospectively?
No,
Did you design this system?
I did not.
Did you make the rules for how this was set up?
I did not.
Where was pharmacy on those?
Oh, unaware, or at least unaware at the time.
On retrospective reviews, do you remember Ms. Menashe asking you about the fact that you had other options on retrospective reviews? What were the buttons you could push on a retrospective review to clear it from your queue?
You could verify it or reject it.
Is there any point in rejecting an order that's already been completed in your mind?
No, sir.
Why not?
Because the point of rejecting an order is to stop it from progressing. If it's already done, what's the point of rejecting it?
Do you remember her asking you about Lexicomp and the guidelines at Mount Carmel?
Yes,
Do you remember testifying that you were unaware of those guidelines as far as palliative withdrawal extubations?
that wasn't Lexicomp, that was just.
I was just directing your attention to that
Oh,
area
okay,
of questioning.
Okay,
Okay. Were you aware that Mount Carmel had an intranet system with information in it?
yes.
How would you describe the organization and the ease of use of that intranet system, which had those policies and guidelines in them?
Yeah, let's go, Your Honor.
We're directing it right back to where she's talked about his awareness of the policies and guidelines.
Okay, I'll permit it.
It was not the easiest thing to navigate.
All right. Did you set up that intranet system that was not the easiest thing to get to navigate?
No, I did not.
Is there anything else that you need to clear up from your testimony from yesterday?
Objection, Your Honor, as to that vagueness of that question.
Yeah, sustained.
So I can't lead, but I can't ask an open-ended question?
No, it's just the nature of an open-ended question. You're asking him to basically correct anything he thinks wrong? There's no guidance there.
Well, in summary, I always ask on direct, is there anything else that you feel we should need to know?
But we're in redirect right now, so,
Which is the point?
okay, I'm not gonna argue with you here,
Okay, sir. All right. Well, then I have no further questions.
okay? Anything on the back charting?
I'm sorry?
Anything on back charting?
Yes, please. One moment. Do you have that sheet, the back charting sheet?
The BB?
Yeah. On the other sheet?
There's BB.
Just the category.
Oh, okay, 29C, those are all the 29B series. There's 29A, is that her? Just check, make sure I got the right person there for you.
No, this is Charles.
That's
Just
what I
need
thought.
29 BB.
Yeah.
BBB.
There it is. That's 29B and 29B. Mhm.
One minute. Showing the witness what's previously been marked as 29B, going back to solely the issue of back charting. For purposes of identification, Talon, this is Kavanaugh's record
Yes, ma'am.
order. And at the bottom here, pharmacist verify. That means you approved, right?
No, it means I verified.
Verified doesn't mean approved.
Verified is the word that they use to verify.
Means you found it an appropriate dose and you let it release.
If it was done prospectively, yes.
And we know it was in this case,
Yes.
correct? And so I just want to be clear about the time. The time where you verified, Talon, what is that time right there?
5:14 a.m.
Okay. And with respect to the time that this argument about back charting, give me 1 second while I find the note. Uh, 5:14 was when you verified, correct?
Correct.
And we know that the time of death, based on the progress notes, was, it says right here, 6:03.
It does.
And then right up here, progress note says 6:10,
Yes.
correct? And that would be AM.
Yes.
Both of those times, the date of death, at the 6:10 and the 6:03, are substantially after your verify of 5:14, correct?
It's after, yes.
45 minutes at a minimum,
Yes.
nothing further.
Okay, you can step down. Call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state would call Gregory Dressbach.
Thank you, you're all done. Can I just stop that?
So the first ones are going to be just to show the basic parts.
You want me to get them up to the stand, Joe?
Yeah, he's coming.
This is going to be just.
Stand and raise your right hand.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Okay, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, go and have a seat there. Make yourself comfortable. You got an aerial mic there in front of you so that we can all hear. You got to talk towards that. Okay, I need you to state your name for the record and spell your name for my court reporter so she can get used to your diction, okay?
Yes. Gregory Dressback, Gregory Dresbach.
Okay? Ms. Sawyer? No questions?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I was trying to show her the exhibits to hopefully move this along a little faster for us.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Dressback, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm fine, how are you?
I'm good. And where are you employed, sir?
I'm currently employed at Mount Carmel Grove City,
And how long, what is your position with them?
clinical staff pharmacist,
How long have you held that position with Mount Carmel?
since August of 2000.
And obviously, Grove City has not been open that long. Were you with Mount Carmel in another hospital prior to Mount Grove City opening?
Yes, I worked at Mount Carmel West.
And how long were you at Mount Carmel West specifically?
I was there starting in April of 1999. I did 1 year as an intern, and then August in 2000, I became a clinical staff pharmacist.
All right, so your job title as a clinical staff pharmacist, what are your job duties, sir?
We are responsible for making sure medications that are compounded within the pharmacy are compounded correctly and dispensed out. We respond to events within the hospital, such as strokes, heart attacks, codes, those types of things. And we review medication orders that come into our queue prior to their dispensal.
Do you work a particular shift at Mount Carmel?
Yes, I work the night shift.
And are there specific days that you work?
I work currently Monday night through Thursday night. Prior to that, I was working Sunday night through Wednesday night.
Okay. And when you say prior to that, do you remember the time period you were working Sunday through Wednesday?
I worked that shift up until March 13th of 2019, sorry.
All right. Just briefly, let's go through what type of education and training you have to hold your current position.
Okay,
Where did you go to college, sir?
The Ohio State University.
And what degree did you receive?
I have a Bachelor's of Science in Pharmacy,
Do you remember what year you received that in?
2000.
And did you go on to get a doctorate degree?
I did not.
Are you licensed as a clinical pharmacist?
Yes,
And when did you receive that licensure?
that licensure came in August of 2000.
Are there continuing education requirements to maintain that?
Yes, there are.
And what are those, sir?
We have to do 40 hours of continuing education every 2 years. 2 of those hours have to be in pharmacy law, and 2 of those hours in medication safety.
Since 2000, has your licensure as a clinical pharmacist remained consistent?
Yes.
Can you describe to us, we've had some description already from other witnesses, but how is medication distributed within Mount Carmel West specifically?
Within Mount Carmel West, there would have been essentially 2 ways. One would have been medications that were actually delivered from the pharmacy to the floors and placed in patient-specific bins. The other would have been through an automated dispensing system, which we used the Pyxis system at Mount Carmel West, which was an automated cabinet full of drawers and bins that contained commonly used medications.
And describe to us what the Pyxis system is as far as how it is utilized.
Oh, it contains commonly used medications for the patients on every floor, anything from as-needed pain meds, nausea meds, to blood pressure medications, just your commonly used meds. Those are stocked in the cabinet on the floor. This allows the nurse to obtain them when needed versus waiting for them to be delivered from the main pharmacy.
And how many Pyxis machines are in Mount Carmel or were in Mount Carmel West?
I don't recall the total number.
Do you remember how many were specifically in the ICU unit?
I believe there were 3.
Okay. Now, can you describe to us, how do you verify medication? How does it come to you as to whether or not it's going to It's going to be dispersed.
A practitioner, such as a physician, nurse practitioner, physician assistant, or a nurse, would go into Cerner, into the PharmNet side of Cerner, which is the computer program that we use to track orders, not just for pharmacy, but lab and everywhere. And they would enter a medication order, and once they had completed filling out the order, they could sign it, and that released it to the queue where we would see it at that point.
All right. And once you see it, where are you at?
I'm in the main pharmacy.
All right, and that's, I believe, on the first floor is what we've been told.
Yeah, first
Okay.
floor.
So describe to us, once that's entered into the queue on Cerna and PharmNet, how does it get to you?
We see it in our queue. It has just a real-time display of orders as they come in based on either patient or unit. You could arrange it however you wanted. And then to actually look at and review the order, you would have to click on it to access the order.
Okay. As you're accessing that order, do you have access to any other information regarding the patient?
You could pull up Power Chart, I believe is what it was called.
Okay.
And that was a separate program, but within Cerner, where you could review sort of histories and physicals and the MAR on the patient. But traditionally, that wasn't always running when you were in PharmNet.
Okay, so once that queue comes up to you, what are your options?
For the order, that once it comes in and we see it, we can reject an order, we can verify an order, we can cancel or discontinue an order.
All right, and I'm gonna, Diane, is it okay just to publish this on? That's the verification order. Yeah. Okay, this is 11B. All right, so, Mr. Dresbach, I'm putting up here what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 11B, and now I'm gonna move it down so you can see the whole thing.
Okay.
Can you tell us briefly, how do you identify what the patient is?
Well, in the upper right, patient name, this would be Timmons, James Nick. He has a medical record number there. Date of birth of, on mine it's a little bit, I think it might be 5/10/1979 or 6/10/1979. So those would all be identifiers we use to identify a patient.
And is this what you would see when you pull it up in your queue?
It was a different appearance just because the verification screen looks different, but that information is there, yes.
Okay. Now, one thing that was talked about yesterday, and you weren't in here, but was the word routine. What does that mean to you?
When an order is put in, the person entering the order has the option. It defaults to routine, which means that pharmacy has 60 minutes or so to verify the order. It's not a rush order.
Okay.
But you had two other options, stat, which meant immediately, the order needed to be addressed immediately, and ASAP, which we granted a time range of 30 to 60 minutes that it needed our attention.
I'm sorry, what was the last time frame for ASAP?
30 to 60 minutes.
Okay, and stat would be the highest level of attention
Yes.
needed. All right. Now, you had talked about you can verify, and we've heard the word used prospectively and retrospectively. What does prospective verification mean to you?
So a prospective verification means the order has come in, medication has not been given or administered. So we have an opportunity to review the order for dose, route, frequency, and then approve the order or reject the order at that point.
Okay, I believe there's a laser pointer up there for you, sir.
Yeah.
Can you use that to show us where we would find when an order is placed?
So on here, the order date and time would be right there. So it's 10/23/2018 at 00:07, or 7 minutes after midnight.
All right, and what is this order for?
This is an order for 100 micrograms IV push of fentanyl, one time.
And, all right, just explain just briefly, what does that mean to you? 100 micrograms IV push one time?
So the dose is 100 micrograms, and it's just a one-time order to give that as an IV push, so a rapid infusion or an injection.
And what type of drug is fentanyl?
Fentanyl is an opiate.
Now, where does it show whether or not where the doctor is that ordered that dose?
Right there under ordering physician.
And this one would be Dr. Husel.
Yes.
And where does it show whether or not you verified this?
Down here, Pharmacist Verify, electronically signed by, and that's my name.
And the date and time on this one?
10/23/2018 at 00:13 or 13 minutes after midnight.
All right. To you, what does prospective verification mean?
Prospective verification means that we receive the order and have an opportunity to review it prior to the medication being administered.
And retrospective verification?
Retrospective would be that the medication has already been administered and now the order is being put in or released into the queue. So we can see it, but there's really nothing you can do at that point. The medication has been administered.
All right. How do you tell on this form whether it is prospective verification or retrospective verification?
Looking at this form, I would suspect that this one is a prospective verification because the order went in at 7 minutes after midnight, and then I approved it at 13 minutes after midnight, and then it was completed at 16 minutes after midnight.
So 3 minutes after you approved it, it's completed,
Yes.
which means you looked at it before it was administered?
Yes.
Okay. And just for the record, 11B, that's a true and accurate copy of what's done in the course of your business?
Yes.
Okay, and next is going to be 2B. All right. And I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 2B. And then I'm going to move it down again. Can you tell us, again, what patient is this for?
This is patient Ryan E. Hayes.
All right, and what type of medication is being placed at this point?
There are actually two medications that you can see currently. The first one is fentanyl, and then the second one is hydromorphone.
Okay, and date and time of the fentanyl order and the hydromorphone?
The order time on the fentanyl is 22:53 on 4/3/2017, and then the time on the hydromorphone is 22:53 on 4/3/2017.
And which doctor is ordering this at this time?
Dr. Husel.
All right. How was it placed? Stacked, ASAP, routine?
Routine.
And can you tell us about when you verified this?
I verified the fentanyl order at 22:58 on 4/3/2017,
And let me move it up for you.
and the hydromorphone order on 4/3/2017 at 22:57.
Can you tell whether or not these were prospectively verified or retrospectively verified?
These would appear to be retrospectively verified based on the action completed time of 22:57.
Because yours was verified at 22:58?
22:58.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm,
I couldn't.
There was an,
Did you object?
I did, thank you.
I'll rephrase, Your Honor. How can you tell it was retrospectively verified?
The order was completed at 22:57 on April 3rd of 2017, but I did not verify it until 22:58 on April 3rd of 2017.
So is it fair then for me to say that in order to see whether it's retrospective, you have to look at that action type and when it was completed?
Yes.
Okay. Diane, 13B will be next. All right, and I'm now going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 13B, and then I'm going to move down for you. Who
Okay.
is our patient here?
This patient is Rebecca Walls.
All right, and what is the med order for on this one?
Again, there are two medication orders here. The first one is for fentanyl, and the second one is for midazolam.
Okay, and who placed these orders?
Both orders were placed by Dr. Husel.
And tell me what type of order was this as far as routine, ASAP, stat?
These orders were routine and routine.
And what date and time were they placed?
Order date and time of November 19th, 2018 at 00:54 and November 19th, 2018 at 00:54.
Okay. Tell me whether or not you verified this.
I did not verify this. I rejected this order.
Okay, where do we see that at, sir?
right there where it says rejected, and then my name on November 19th, 2018 at 00:56.
All right, I'm going to move down so you can see the other order of midazolam. What about that order?
Rejected, again, my name on November 19th, 2018 at 00:56.
All right, now tell me about what happens when you are rejecting an order. What do you have to do?
I reject the order, and then that will flag the order with a symbol across the system that it has been rejected by Pharmacist. And then I usually call the floor to try to get the order clarified.
Okay. You said it flags that order. How does it flag that order?
There is a symbol, I believe it was a mortar and pestle with a red circle around it and a line through it that would appear by the order on their system. That's what it appeared to pharmacists.
Okay.
I think it appeared the same way to nurses.
So that would be going directly to the nurse who ordered it?
It would be going to anyone that accessed that patient's record at that time.
Okay. So I want to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit F. What is that, sir?
This component right here is the refrigerator section of a Pyxis, and then this component right here is the other cabinet portion of the Pyxis.
All right, and I've got some different viewpoints for you. State's Exhibit 15G. What does that show?
So again, this would be the refrigerated section. We're obviously looking at it from the other side now, and these are the two now cabinet sections, and that is the Pyxis touchscreen.
State's Exhibit 15H.
Again, refrigerated Pyxis cabinet, the two non-refrigerated cabinets, keyboard, touchscreen.
And the keyboard, is that where the nurse would place the order?
No. 19th, 2018.
And there was some talk yesterday about the size of the vials. Tell me about this vial size here.
Just looking off of this order, it doesn't really specifically say which vial size it was pulled from, but typically what stock in the pieces machine for 100 micrograms per 2 ml vial.
All right, so I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 29. Yeah.
Maybe I messed up because I think I medical records.
This is 20, this one's 28.
28, I'm sorry, 28, okay. Mr. Dressler, I'm showing what's been marked for identification of State's Exhibit 2080. Can you identify that for us?
Yes, that is a vial of fentanyl used 100 micrograms per 2 ml.
Okay, and would that be what that medication is dispensed in?
Yes. Blood. Oh, no, I'm fine. Thank you.
All right, so what was the total dosage of fentanyl ordered for Rebecca Wallace at this time?
At this time, the total dosage is 1,000 micrograms.
How many vials did that take?
That would take 10 of those vials.
And let's talk about the bedazzling. What type of drug is bedazzling?
This is benzodiazepine.
Okay, and we've also heard it called Versed, I believe?
That's its brand name.
All right, what was ordered as far as the bedazzling and Versed?
2 milligrams.
And how many milligrams are in a vial on this, do you know?
There are actually multiple strengths of Versed available. They come in either 2 milligrams per 2 ml or 5 milligrams per 5 ml.
Okay. You rejected this order. Why?
This order came through after an incident that happened in October,
Okay.
where we became aware that there were high doses of fentanyl and benzodiazepines used in a powder ventilation withdrawal. So on advisement of proceeding forward after that, whenever we saw in these orders, we were asked to try to reject and clarify, and that's what I did.
Okay, so you rejected, what did you do after you rejected this?
I believe I called the front station to the MICU first, and got no response. So then I tried to call the back station of the MICU, and then still got no response, which isn't unusual. They're a very busy area. And then, before I could do anything further, I received a phone call from the ER.
Okay. And this kind of lays the groundwork. How many people work the night shift?
Myself, one other pharmacist, and 2 technicians in the pharmacy.
And you're responsible for the entire hospital?
Yes.
Is it unusual for you to get called in multiple rounds?
Oh, not at all.
All right. So you get called by the ER. Do you know how long that took you?
5 to 10 minutes. There's basically an issue with trying to determine appropriate antibiotics for patients that have multiple allergies. So we were working through that, and then getting those orders started so we could send.
All right, so when you get back to your desk, what do you do then?
Well, I haven't fully left the desk because I'm right there with my computer and the phone. So when I hung up with that, I probably rechecked the queue to see if anything stat had come through, and then looked on back in to work on those orders.
Okay, what did you find when you rechecked the queue?
These had switched from my rejected status to a completed status, these 2 orders.
So show me what you would have seen at this point. What would have come up to tell you that?
Well, again, these are different than how they appear in the queue. In the queue, they're like a one-line item thing, but instead of rejected around the order, it would say completed.
All right. Now, I see on this part, going down the bottom where it now says you verified, reviewed your name, what time is that date?
That is November 19, 2018 at 01:31.
And that would be typically what we call the retrospective review, am I correct?
In this case, yeah, because the medication now has been given and completed without my authorization, because I had rejected it previously.
Does you marking that as verified after the fact mean you have approved it?
No.
What does that mean?
In this instance, with this system, you only have So prospectively approving the order or just retrospectively removing the order from the queue, you have to use the verify function.
Okay. Why did you reject this initially? 1,000 micrograms of fentanyl and the 10 milligrams of dazzling. Why did you reject it?
Well, I wanted to call and find out what the indication was for prior to approving and dispensing the medication.
All right. And you weren't able to get a hold of anybody.
No.
Did you after that find out what it was for?
Yes,
What did you find out?
that they had used it in a palliative withdrawal.
If you had known that, so let's say you called and got a hold of them, what would you have done with the order?
It depended on how our conversation went. Obviously, my intention would be to try to get the order, the dosage reduced to something I was more comfortable with based on my experience. But since it didn't happen, I can't tell you what would happen next if we couldn't reach an agreement.
Okay, that's fair. Was that the end of this with the record loss?
No.
What did you do next?
Again, pursuant to the incident that happened in October, where we were asked to note and escalate anything else that occurred, I wrote and sent an email to our operations manager, Randy Mons.
And do you recall what date you sent that email on?
It should have been November 19, 2018.
All right, I'm showing you what's been marked for identification as case exhibit 20A. Can you write down the date for it?
Yes. This would be said email.
All right, what's the purpose of sending this email to Randy Mons?
The purpose of sending the email to Randy was to try to get some continued traction on what to do in the future when these orders pop up. Also, when I was going through and writing the email, I noticed some things that bothered me with how the medications were being removed from the basis and basically using the override function. And in this instance, the medications were even administered, though I had rejected the orders.
Okay, so I'm going to take this down for a minute,
Okay.
and then we'll get back to it. I'm showing you what's been marked for identification as case exhibit 24M. Can you tell us what this is?
This appears to be a Texas activity law.
All right, and this is for which patient?
Rebecca Walls.
So this will be the same one we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. In the last column, what does that mean to you?
Over here all the way to the right, that is whether or not a medication was removed using the override function.
All right, so let's go to where that order was placed, one of the last pages. Okay, so it's actually the very last page. So tell us what your concern is with how this was done. What raised your concern?
Oh, first, you can see that the medication, the fentanyl, there's the dose, the 1,000 micrograms, 10 vials, and it was removed on override. And then beneath it is the midazolam 10 milligrams, which required 5 vials. Again, removed on override. So the override function is intended to be used in emergency situations. In my opinion, on how to control. Okay.
I sustain the objection, let's ask him a question.
Based upon your experience as a palliative withdrawal emergency,
An emergency, no.
okay, anything else that raised your concern?
The individual that withdrew the medications, I have to refer back to the email to be certain, I don't believe it's the same individual that administered the medications.
Okay, so what's the individual who withdrew it here?
Here is Gordon Blair.
All right, I'm actually going to go back to 13B. What nurse was involved as far as this shows us?
It appears that it was cleared electronically signed by Wesley Black.
So what raises your concern about this?
Well, now we have a compromised chain of custody for the narcotic, the fentanyl and the Versed. One individual has removed them via override from the cabinet, and another person is documenting that they're getting it. I have no idea what happened in between.
Okay, so going back to your email, 20A, and that's the email of November 19th, 2018. Who's Randall Mark?
He was the operations manager at Mount Carmel West.
And why are you emailing him regarding this?
I felt that ultimately the things that I were addressing in the email, the misuse of the override function, the two individuals handling narcotics without a clear chain of custody, those are all things that fell under Randy's purview.
Okay, and what were your concerns that you related to Mr. Dr. Miles? Is it Mr. or Dr.? I'm sorry.
Doctor,
Dr. Miles, what were the concerns regarding this?
I was concerned that there could be potential drug diversion.
Okay,
I was concerned that there may need to be re-education about the proper use of the override function. And then I had concerns about the doses on both medications that were being used in that scenario.
and what were the concerns about the doses that were being used in this one?
They seemed high to me.
Okay. So you passed that up the chain of command, and there's a email back from Dr. Miles to your personal voice report.
Correct.
Voice report.
A voice is an acronym, I do not know what it stands for, that we use internally that allows anyone to report a medication or medical error within the hospital or near care. So anything from labs drawn on the wrong patient to medications administered on the wrong patient, those types of things could be filed via a voice report.
Okay, so anything that's a problem, am I getting that correct?
Yeah, that may need addressed.
And before I take this off, State Exhibit 28, is that a true and accurate copy of the email that you sent?
Yes.
That kept in the normal course of Mount Carmel business?
Yes.
And Dr. Miles' response again, true and accurate copy of what you received?
Yes.
Kept in the normal course of Mount Carmel business?
Yes.
You know, obviously, we're here about some specific patients, and you have, as the night pharmacist, had some involvement with some of the other patients and victims we're concerned about. I want to talk to you about a few of them specifically, and the first would be Joanne Belisari. All right, so I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification as State Exhibit 1B. Move it up, move it down. What patient is this regarding, sir?
Joanne Belisari.
And going on to the second page of that, again regarding the same patient,
Yes, Joanne Belisari.
and I want to talk about this top order. Tell us about that.
Before you get to the question, are you able to see that? It's a little small print.
What we see what I can do without making any already go. That better? All right, maybe, right? Yeah, like maybe. All right. Tell us what date this order was placed, sir.
This order was placed on May 4th, 2015 at 03:36 a.m.
And who was it placed by?
It appears Dr. Husel.
All right, what medication was he ordering at this time?
This was fentanyl,
And what was the full dosage that was ordered?
200 micrograms.
All right, now, the other one we saw was 1,000, this is 200. Did that strike you as anything unusual?
No,
Why?
200 micrograms is an acceptable dose in the ICU as a one-time push.
All right, did you verify this prospectively or retrospectively?
This would appear to be a prospective verification.
All right, tell us what says that.
I reviewed and signed it at 03:40, sorry, prior we decided at 03:43, and they, actually, I guess I misspoke, this may have been a retrospective one, because if I had signed it at 03:43, but it was completed at 03:38, that meant the medication had to have been administered prior to my approving the order.
Okay. All right, then I want to switch to the last page of this, and again, same patient?
Yes, Danielle, sorry.
All right, let's talk about this, and let's see if I can get this right. Rocuronio, am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. That's ROCURONIUM.
Yes.
What type of drug is this, sir?
This is a paralytic.
Okay, explain to us what that is, please.
It paralyzes, basically the muscles within the patient's body, rendering them in a state where they cannot move at all.
What's this used for?
Typically, this would be used like during intubation,
Okay.
or if a patient was on a ventilator and needed to be paralyzed because they were not compliant with the ventilator.
All right, and who placed this order and on what date and time?
Order position is Dr. William Husel, and the order date and time is May 5th, 2015 at 22:46.
And can you tell us whether this is a prospective verification or a retrospective verification?
Looking at the information on this would have been a retrospective verification, because the order was entered at 22:46, completed at 22:50, but then signed by myself at 22:51.
All right, another patient I believe you have some involvement with would have been James Timmons, not Jack James. All right, I'm going to show you what's involved in the case, but it's 11C. 11C, move it up a little bit, and then can you tell us what patient this is regarding?
Yes, James Nick Timmons.
All right, I'm going to turn the page. And I want to talk about the one at the bottom. Can you tell us what this is about?
This is an order for fentanyl, 100 micrograms, IV push every hour as needed for agitation. So this is a very typical order that you can see in the ICU where the patient appears to be in pain or exhibiting signs of pain or agitation. You can give this dose every hour as needed.
That's 100 micrograms.
That's 100 micrograms.
All right, now I notice on this one, it says that order status discontinued. What does that mean?
For that field, at this time, this order would be discontinued, so no longer active.
Now I'm gonna turn to the next page. So tell us about this order, Mr. Kent.
This order is again for fentanyl, 100 micrograms, IV push. This is a one-time order. Again, not uncommon at all to see in an ICU.
Okay, and who placed this order?
Dr. Husel?
And can you tell us whether, okay, you signed it, the verification?
Yes, I signed it at 00:13 on October 23rd, 2018.
Based upon that, can you tell us whether that was a prospective or a retrospective verification?
This one appears to be prospective because I verified it 13 minutes after midnight, and it was completed at 16 minutes after midnight on the same date.
Okay. And the bottom one shows a fentanyl additive for 2,000 micrograms. What's a fentanyl additive?
So this is an order for an IV continuous infusion.
Okay.
So this is 2,000 micrograms of fentanyl and 200 mLs of sodium chloride. All of this stuff in the middle basically is stating that this patient needs this fentanyl infusion to remain sedate and unagitated while I presume they're on the ventilator. Again, not at all an uncommon order to see in an ICU.
All right, and when you say it's an infusion, explain to us, lay people, what that means.
So if you watch a movie or TV show, you see them hook up an IV and then it runs through the tubing. That's an infusion versus an IV push where you just have it in a syringe and you inject it.
And this type of infusion, how long would that last?
This type of infusion can last indefinitely. It is strictly based on the needs of the patient. So the rate that it runs in can fluctuate based on the state of the patient.
Okay, and I see the word titrate or titration. What
That's
does
what
that
that
mean?
means.
That's what that means?
Yeah, titration means you adjust the rate based on the patient's clinical presentation.
Okay. And then the last page for Mr. Timmons, talk about this one for us.
Actually, the top one.
Yes.
Okay, this is midazolam or Versed, 2 milligrams IV push every 1 hour. Routine is needed for agitation. Again, this pretty much will always go with someone who's on a fentanyl trip. Because if someone is being treated for pain or on a ventilator, they also need to be sedated. And Versed is your sedative agitation.
Okay, now we've heard the term synergistic effect. What is that?
The synergistic effect would be when you give medication A and you expect it to do one thing, medication B, you expect it to do one thing, but given together, the two generate an effect greater than either one separate. So the sum is greater than its parts.
All right. And we've heard that used in relationship to using opiates and benzodiazepines together. Tell us about that.
Well, opiates are more for pain relief, and the benzodiazepines are more for a sedative factor, but both have CNS effects. So when used together, you would expect a synergistic effect on the central nervous system. So
CNS
things like
effects. What's that?
CNS effects. So the one most commonly associated with those agents is respiratory depression.
Okay. So giving them together could make that worse.
Yes, it could make that worse.
There was some talk about Lexicon. What is Lexicon?
So Lexicon is a drug resource database that is available. It's extremely helpful. It contains common dosages for various disease states and diagnoses. It contains the information about how drugs are commonly prepared and available, side effects, just about anything you would want to know about a medication, you can find in Lexicon.
Have you ever accessed it?
Yes.
How is it available to you?
I have it on my phone. It's available through mobile devices. It is also available on Mount Carmel's intranet on their homepage through the pharmacy department section or through the library section. You can access Lexicon.
All right, so I'm going to show you what the mark for identifications is 26AA. 26AA, and move it down. What is this?
This appears to be a printout from Lexicon regarding fentanyl.
Okay. And have you seen this before?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us, what is important about this to you?
Well, what is up on the screen right now, these are black box warnings, which are the most serious warnings that the FDA requires on a medication. So you can see them listed, life-threatening respiratory depression, addiction, abuse, and misuse, accidental exposure, cytochrome people-ripy interactions, which is a metabolism issue, and neonatal opioid withdrawal syndrome. And then it continues on. Risk from concomitant use with benzodiazepines and other CNS suppressants, risk of medication errors, and the REMS program.
I would, once you go through them, then you ask questions. This narrative is inappropriate.
Can you tell us what other information you draw from lexicon that's important to you in your job?
Well, the dosing information, Lexicon provides dosing information for various disease states and diagnoses for adjustments needed in renal or hepatic or liver failure, doses for pediatrics, neonates, any sort of dosing information would be found in here.
That's for fentanyl specifically.
Yeah, it can be for any drug lexicon, but one can be for fentanyl specifically.
Does it address its usage in palliative withdrawal?
Let's see. That particular state does not appear to be addressed under their dosing in that document.
All right. Mr. Director, I'm going to show you a narcotic identification. See Exhibit 26A. There's a number for you. Can you tell us what this is, sir?
This is an IV guideline which was used at Mount Carmel to give you basic guidance on common doses and strengths for medications.
All right, and this is regarding what medication?
This medication is fentanyl.
All right, what is this used for, sir?
Again, it's used for analgesia, so pain relief.
Okay. And what is the recommended dose pursuant to Mount Carmel's guidelines?
Again, for their guidelines, 25 to 100 micrograms for an IV push. And then this is the continuous infusion, and you can see, again, the word titrate, which means you can adjust the rate by 25 microgram increments every 15 minutes to a range of 25 to 300 micrograms per hour.
Okay, and in the last row at the bottom, what does this mean?
Over here,
Yes.
okay, onset is the time in minutes, so 2 to 3 minutes that you would expect to see pain relief once the medication was given. Peak, 5 to 10 minutes, is the time you expect from the medication being administered that you can see its full effect or its maximum effect in speed. Duration is how long you expect those effects to last, and half-life is roughly how long it takes the average person to eliminate half of the drug from their body.
And I see it says 1/2018. What does that signify to you?
This would mean it was the version that was posted as of January 2018.
All right, and I'm going to turn the page. And I may have to leave this up because it's very tall. Okay, and again, same medication.
Yes.
And I know you just looked at it. Anything you see that's changed significantly?
Not without having both look side by side. No, nothing more.
Okay, and the date on this one?
7/2016.
All right, and something I'm seeing that I don't think I actually did on the first page. I'm going to go back to the first page of that. I see a just dosage for elderly. What does that mean?
Again, with any medications, there are sometimes considerations you have to take based on the patient population. Sometimes they have to be more, sometimes you have to be less. The elderly are typically more susceptible to the CNS effects of these medications than, say, a younger person.
And this going back to the 2016 date, the same thing is noted on this one.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at, all right, this page looks a little bit different. Tell me a bit about this. And this is 7/2018, it looks like.
So this is specifically for use of fentanyl and procedural sedation.
Okay?
So this would be an instance where, say, someone had a dislocated shoulder, something where you needed to sedate them and not necessarily put them to sleep to the point that they required ventilation.
Okay.
So these would be the recommended dosages for procedures such as that.
Okay. Turning the page again. This is subject examination, that looks like the prior page.
Yes.
Okay. Subject examination looks similar to the prior page again, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, one more page, it looks like. This would be, again, fentanyl, I have 5/2015, so that would be the date of this one?
Yeah.
All right. Anything substantially different between this one and the last one we looked at that you see?
The half-life column is missing over here under also deconsideration, and that's the only thing that jumps out without being able to compare it side by side.
Okay, and explain the half-life to me, so I make sure I get this.
So the half-life measures the time it takes for half of the drug administered to be eliminated from the body. So if I give you 100 milligrams of something, and 2 hours later, 50 of it's gone, then the half-life is 2 hours.
Okay. Mr. Dresbach, does this appear to be 26A, a true and accurate copy of those policies regarding fentanyl?
Yes.
Kept in the normal course of business?
Yes.
Where can you access this at if you're Mount Carmel employee?
Those are available online through Mount Carmel Internet. Again, usually under pharmacy, with the tabs and ID guidelines, and you can pull those up there.
All right, I want to talk to you about another patient. And this is what's marked as Exhibit 2C. And can you tell us what patient this is regarding?
This is patient Ryan Hayes.
All right, let's talk about the top order here. Tell us about that.
This is an order for fentanyl, ordered by Dr. Husel, 1,000 micrograms, I did once, routine. It was placed at 2253 on April 3rd, 2017.
And when was it completed, sir?
It was completed at 2257, April 3rd, 2017.
All right, and how was this order placed as far as routine, ASAP, that?
Routine.
All right, and did you verify this order?
I verified this order, but it wasn't until 2258, which was a minute after it was completed.
All right, and who placed this order?
It appears it was entered by Troy Redmond
And what doctor?
under Dr. Husel.
All right. And let's talk about the one underneath. What is this?
This is hydromorphone for Dilaudid. It's an opiate. 10 milligrams, IV push, once, routine. Again, the order entered on April 3rd, 2017 at 2253 under Dr. Husel and entered by Troy Redmond.
And again, you verified it, was it retrospectively or prospectively?
This one is for sure retrospectively. This one, the timestamps are identical.
Okay, so that's a little bit harder to tell as far as it goes.
Yes.
Okay. Would the Texas activity law tell you that?
The Texas activity law will tell me when they remove medications, but nothing more.
All right, so let's look at that. Things of 2022. All right, so this has been marked, Mr. Dresbach, as Playable B. Can you tell us what patient this is for?
The patient is Ryan Hayes.
All right, and again, just to verify, the last column shows what?
Overrides.
All right, so let's look at the order. All right, now good. This one looks a little different than the last one we saw.
2019 at 2244. Florida resident, the same patient, Ryan Hayes, removed another 1 vial of 100 mic fentanyl via O'Brien.
All right, keep going.
Underneath, the exact same thing, same timestamp, same patient, same drug, 100 mics, 1 vial of fentanyl.
Okay, and under that?
Again, same thing, same timestamp, 2244, for Redmond, patient is Ryan Hayes, 100 mic vial of fentanyl via override.
Okay. Then what?
Then, it looks as though at 2245, Troy Redmond, again, under the patient Ryan Hayes, removed 1 2 milligram vial of hydromorphone via override.
And next?
Next, same thing, same time, 2245, Troy Redmond, under the patient Ryan Hayes, removed 1 2 milligram vial of hydromorphone via override.
Okay, and after that?
After that, same scenario, same timestamp, same patient, same nurse. Again, 1 2 milligram vial of hydromorphone.
And under that?
Under that, another instance at 2245, Troy Redmond appears to remove, under Ryan Hayes, 1 2 milligram vial of hydromorphone.
We'll move it up. And the last one on this page?
The last line indicates the same again, same timestamp, same nurse, same patient. 1 2 milligram vial of hydromorphone via override.
So I got 5 vials, I'm counting that are hydromorphone at this point.
Correct.
Let's turn the page, because I don't think 5 is not going to be about the drug that was ordered.
Well, that was a different drug, hydromorphone versus fentanyl.
Right, but the 5 you originally
Oh,
said.
fentanyl? Correct.
All right, so let's keep going, because we know we're missing 5 more vials, right?
Yes.
Tell us what happens next.
So at 2245, this time it appears a different individual, Tyler Springer, under Ryan Hayes, removed 100 microgram vial of fentanyl.
And let me back to that just for a second before we go on. Am I correct that the last one drawn by Troy Redmond, was it 2245, 24?
The last vial of hydromorphone was 2245, 24. The last vial of fentanyl by Troy Redmond that I've seen so far is 2244.
Okay, so this first one drawn by Tyler Springer is about a minute later.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, what happens after that?
After that, another vial of fentanyl, 1 vial, 100 mics, the override was removed by Tyler Springer or Ryan Hayes. And then after that, it appears the exact same thing, same timestamp, Tyler Springer, taken as Ryan Hayes, 100 mic vial of fentanyl.
After that?
Again, the same process. And again, the same process. Another vial, 1 vial of 100 mic fentanyl drawn.
All right. It goes on to Troy Redmond again, what happens after that? After these 10 vials of fentanyl are pulled, what happens then?
Okay, so, well, at least by the activity log, it looks like Troy Redmond then goes and at 2245, removes 1 2 milligram vial of Brisket under Ryan Hayes. And then,
How did you do that?
oh, we are right.
Okay, and the next?
And the next, 2245, Troy Redmond under Station Ryan Hayes would remove 1 2 milligram vial of midazolam via override.
Next?
The same thing, 2245, for Redmond, under Ryan Hayes, removed 1 2 milligram vial of midazolam via override.
Move it up for you, and the last row?
And the last row is again, 2245, Troy Redmond, under patient Ryan Hayes, removed 1 2 milligram vial of midazolam via override.
So I'm saying at this point, 4 vials of Dazzlum?
Yes, on this page, I see 4.
Turn the page and keep going, sir, please.
Okay, at the top, stop. 2245, for resident, for the patient Ryan Hayes, remove 1 more vial of 2 milligram Versed for gasoline under override.
All right, so I'm gonna stop you here. So at this point, we have 5 vials of midazolam, 5 of hydromorphine, and 10 of fentanyl,
Correct.
and that's the order you received.
Those are the ingredients.
And you verified them retrospectively.
Yes.
They've already been given.
Yes.
Can you keep going with this? What happens next at 2302?
At 2302, Stringer and the patient Ryan Hayes withdrew 109 vial of fentanyl via override.
Next.
And then the same thing again at 2302, Stringer.
I'm sorry, slow down, just slow
Sorry. Under the patient Ryan Hayes, removed another vial of 100 mics fentanyl via override.
After that,
2302, Springer, under the patient Ryan Hayes, removed another vial of 100 micrograms of fentanyl via override.
after that,
After that, at 2302, Springer, under Ryan Hayes, removed 2 milligram vial of hydromorphone via override.
and keep going.
And then again at 2302, Springer, under the patient Ryan Hayes, removed 1 more 2 milligram vial of hydromorphone via override. 2302, Springer, under the patient Ryan Hayes, removed 1 more vial of 2 milligram hydromorphone via override. And at 2302, Springer, under the patient Ryan Hayes, removed 1 more